bounties have always been a lackluster aspect of the Ogre Kingdom faction mechanics. With the recent updates, we have seen some changes for the Ogre Bounties that have definitely taken some correct steps toward the right direction for the overall Ogre experience, but they still have some inherent problems that makes it that you're not gonna have much fun with their faction mechanics and not get a true mercenary vibe when playing them. I will be presenting some fresh ideas that could transform the Ogre experience into something unique, truly capturing the mercenary spirit of the Ogres. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So first thing first, in order to make the Ogre mercenary mechanic more engaging, I would introduce a mercenary contract map inspired by Changeling's mechanic, but streamlined to cover the entire world in one cohesive screen. At the start of your campaign, you would have 10 to 15 contracts displayed on the map, most of them conveniently located near your starting position. This larger pool of contracts would provide more opportunities to explore and strategize, guaranteeing that no matter the path you choose, there will always be accessible bounties to pursue. From the very first turn, you can begin planning your strategy both short and long term by choosing to focus on certain contracts, declining the irrelevant ones, or holding off on others if you're unsure they align with your future plans. Contracts can also expire naturally if their objectives become obsolete. For instance, a settlement you were hired to defend might fall to the enemies, or the army you were tasked to attack might be defeated by another faction. As the list of your contracts drop below half the amount of original bounties, let's say 5 to 7, new bounties would appear in fresh locations, ensuring a constant flow of work for your mercenary armies. These new bounties are dynamically generated based on the relationship between factions. The greater aversion or outright hatred between two factions, the more likely one of them will offer you a contract to strike at their rivals. This evolving system keeps the gameplay fresh and ensures you can forge your path as a true mercenary powerhouse from the earliest turns into the late game. To make the bounties even more interesting, we should introduce a wider variety of objectives. Imagine bounties where you're tasked with defending a settlement or guarding an army for a period of time, escorting a caravan throughout its journey where you can attach your army to their force, fighting alongside them as reinforcement whenever they are attacked, ambushing enemy armies in pre-designated areas much similar to the Wood Elven Forest encounters where you have a limited number of turns to set up the ambush, or capturing one or number of settlements from the enemies of the issuer of the bounty, and at the end transferring these settlements to them to complete the task. Currently, the rewards for the bounties are absolutely abysmal. Camp growth, handful of blue items, and couple of banners are about the only notable bonuses you can receive. You would get these blue items over and over again. Let's be honest, how many Grutzicles would you realistically need in a campaign as the Ogres with limited number of casters they have? So we desperately need some new rewards to be added, such as blue, unique purple, or yellow items that are otherwise only accessible to the faction issuing these contracts, in addition to powerful banners, ancillaries, and more army and faction-wide bonuses. To improve this even further, the value of the reward has to scale as the distance and the difficulty of the bounty escalates. They have already implemented this mechanic, but the scaling is still not good enough and it needs to be magnified even further. For example, a bounty that takes 10 turns to reach from your closest army and not the closest settlement should pay 5 times more in gold, items, ancillaries, and army and faction-wide bonuses than a bounty that takes 2 turns to get to. Similarly, challenging stronger factions like strength ranking 5 should offer tenfold the reward of taking on a weaker target ranked at 50. And another important thing to note is major factions should always pay you more in terms of reward than the minor ones, because they do have a higher potential of getting stronger, which would make the bounty a lot more tougher, therefore the higher reward. This type of scaling would make the contracts feel a lot more dynamic, rewarding the player's investment in time and effort into these bounties a lot more properly. Hope you're enjoying this, and if you are, please give it a like, and also let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. That's gonna help out the video big times. Based on the stats from YouTube, only 11% of you guys are subscribed. You're trying to get to 5,000 subs by the end of the year, so join the Legion of PZA Total War for more Warhammer 3 content. Without further ado, let's just get to the rest of the video. A really important feature that I want to see getting implemented is dedicating one army to pursuing a bounty, transforming them into true mercenaries. This army would benefit from reduced or even completely free meat and gold upkeep, alongside a significant boost to their campaign movement range around 50% or 50 more movements until the bounty is completed. This feature would be a nod to Medieval 2's crusading and jihad mechanics, making it feasible to implement. When you accept the bounty, your assigned army from the target's faction perspective will count as an army belonging to the faction that has issued the bounty, and whatever you do against them with that army won't be a declaration of war, but the target faction consider them enemies. This essentially waives the requirement to declare war on the bounty target, reflecting the mercenary nature of the arrangement. You're simply doing a job for a good paycheck. Of course, diplomatic penalties with that faction still applies, but to a lesser degree for your faction. This feature might be a bit trickier to implement, but imagine if the bounty's target had the ability to pull an Uno reverse reverse, flipping the script by offering you rewards far more lucrative than those promised by the original issuer, persuade you to switch sides and attack them instead. This dynamic perfectly captures the mercenary mindset of the ogres. Their loyalty always belongs to the highest bidder. Building on the concept of the bounties, here's another idea that I think could resonate with a lot of players. Bounties could also serve as a diplomatic feature, allowing players, regardless of their chosen faction, to hire ogre kingdoms to do their bidding. In exchange for fulfilling these bounties, you could offer rewards not just gold but also items and ancillaries. This system not only adds depth to the interactions with the ogre factions but also draws inspiration from the item trading mechanic featured in Total War 3 Kingdoms, making its implementation somewhat feasible. So many interesting situations could arise from this simple mechanic. Imagine if ogres accept and then fulfill your contract for you, but you refuse to pay up the reward, and then they will go to war with you to teach you a lesson and get the reward from you forcefully. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I would love to hear your thoughts about the ideas presented and also any suggestions to improve these even further. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Omens of Destruction and Warhammer 3 content. Click on this video if you want to learn the top 5 mistakes you need to avoid to master Warhammer 3. This is PZA Total War, and I will see you guys later.